Smith with a second effort. Smith is in for an Eagles touchdown. Smith, touchdown.
Welcome back for another episode of Trending Thoughts. I can't wait to dive into this one. Football season is officially back for everyone. If you listened to this podcast before, you know I was talking about youth football, started talking about college a little bit, and now the NFL stuff is here. It's all real now, and I'm excited about it, man. It was a great weekend of ball. Had the opportunity to watch my Terrapins play in person. Had the opportunity to catch the Ravens in person as well, and I caught up with everyone else on film when I got home. It was a great weekend for the most part, minus one team. A lot of guys brought wins home, 4-1 on the weekend. Not too bad for four different teams at once. But I want to get straight into it. Starting first with college. The University of Maryland. Got there a little bit later than I had planned on, just a few minutes late. And by the time I got into the stadium, it was already 14-0. I was in shock. Like, what is going on? To UNC Charlotte, like, the guys are tripping. Then I went, caught up real quick by listening to Johnny Holiday on the way in. I knew something crazy was happening. But when you go and you turn the ball over and the team has a big play and you're down, 14-0, less than with already 4 minutes into the game, that's not the ideal start. However, it's not about how you start a game. It's how you finish it. Coach Loxley had the boys rolling. They finished the game 38-20, and it was a great performance by all parties involved. It looked like an early season game to me, though. Just watching the guys not executing as sharp as they should, but also just a little lack of discipline too. That kind of comes with the early game jitters, and really inopportune moments really allowed that team to kind of stick around. But by the time that second half came around, the team was rolling. It took care of business, and that's what you want to see, right? I think that type of adversity is great regardless of who the team is, because this team has been battle tested for the past few years. But to really overcome that adversity early and prove that, hey, we can go on and dominate a team the way we're supposed to, it was huge for them. I think for any fan, they're going to complain and be like, oh, man, the boys came out flat and this and that. The reality of it is it was a win. And that's all that matters. And they were able to overcome it and finish very strong. But a lot of guys were able to shine, man. Roman Hemby, a guy that I mentioned his name a lot during the game, just watching him grow over the past couple of seasons. I'm like, man, he's an NFL running back. Right? He's an NFL running back. He can do everything well. Great vision. He's explosive. He can break the long one, right? He got tripped up a couple of times, could have had a couple of home runs. But his talent, he's an NFL running back to me. He can catch the ball. He's explosive with his short area quickness. And, Maryland's lucky to keep him home for sure. I'm excited for him and his future. And the team, in order for them to be successful, yes, we have Talia, and he's capable of leading the team, throwing the ball down the field. But as long as the big fellas up front are blocking like they were this past weekend and allow Roman to get in rhythm, then every other running back that pops in, because they do mix in a couple of different flavors. Colby McDonald's had 8 carries, 73 yards. Big-time game out of him. Antoine Littlejohn, who's Antoine Littleton, who is one of the biggest running backs I've seen, explosive as well for his size. He's a guy that comes in short yardage situations and always does his thing. So I'm loving what I'm seeing up front overall. The offensive line seems like they're getting better and better each and every year, which if you haven't been paying attention to recruiting, you can see that Coach Loxley is investing heavily in that group. It's like 5 or 6 guys committed already for this class coming up here. And he understands the importance of the trenches when it comes to the Big Ten. Y'all know I'm a Maryland homer for sure, but there's a little bit of reality when it comes to that team in general historically, right? Loxley's been doing his thing, coaching these boys up. But the way to win in the Big Ten is you got to win up front and you got to win in the trenches. And I think now we do have a group that is solid enough to compete with those guys when we get into conference play. So I'm excited to watch them grow and learn. And I'm at every home game. So I'm looking forward to it. Have a big one coming up this week with UVA. The win against UNC Charlotte was special. It was pretty cool to see a bunch of the kids from the Maryland area that play for that UNC Charlotte team as well come back, play in their home state. But it was really cool, man. I'm excited for this team. Starting off 2-0, UVA coming to town. big rivalry renewed. Hopefully the fans come. Not gonna lie, the fans, y'all know I love y'all, but it's extremely disappointing to see the way the fans have been showing up, man. So hopefully on Friday the team comes out, shows out. Student section was rowdy last week, but we need everyone there. I know there's a lot going on in the DMV area. It's not like some of these college towns where people have absolutely nothing to do. So football is all they have. There's a lot going on in the DMV, but I'm old enough to remember that stadium rocking with Terps fans in it, not the opposing team, with Terps fans in it. And I think it can get back to that. I think y'all can hear me say this all the time. We talk about what you want. I hear a lot of football fans complaining about what they want, but people aren't showing up. All right. You want to change Maryland? Control what you can control. Yeah, you can donate. Yeah, you can do all the NIL stuff, right? Whatever. Remove all of that. Show up in the stands, and that'll change Maryland. And y'all know I coach with Level 82, so I get to talk to a lot of young athletes in the state of Maryland, and their number one complaint isn't that Maryland's facilities aren't nice. Maryland has better facilities than every NFL team that I played on, right? They also have everything that you need just in a campus, a central campus, right? Diverse, big, close to places where you can work post football. Has everything that you need, right? But that game day experience is awful for a student athlete that comes there and goes to a lot of these other schools on visits. It doesn't even compare. And to me, that was one thing as a recruit that stood out to me, the game day experience at Maryland, right? So it's not that it can't happen. And it's not that there's been this huge gap to whereas people forgot all about football. But no, we need people to come back and take pride in showing up and not just supporting virtually, which is what you see on social media and every grocery store and place I go into in Maryland. Everyone watches the Terps, but not enough people support by going to it. So that's my complaint to our Maryland fans. I'm not just complaining to you from my perspective. I go to every home game. All right. I try to do my part, supporting those cats and watching and trying to bring other people along. So this Friday night, UVA's coming up. We need folks to come out, man. Get those recruits that aren't playing on Friday night, show them what the real Maryland night game experience is like, right? Show them what it's like when Boston College was in town, when Matt Ryan was there, and it was packed out, right? When Miami was there, Darius Hayward Bay catches the ball down the sideline, was rocking that night. I was a recruit. I remember those games. I remember West Virginia with Pat White rocking there, right? Let's bring that back, and it's necessary. All right, but enough for the Terps. Shout out to Locks, 2-0. Good luck this week heading into UVA. But for those who don't know, I also do a pregame show with the Baltimore Ravens. So I'm at every home Ravens game, right? I'm really a true homer at this point when it comes to being in Maryland. And two of my favorite teams are in Maryland, so it works out great for me. So having the opportunity to go there, work with Shelby, Garrett, the whole gang, to go and talk Ravens ball is pretty cool. And the game was awesome. Watching, I know fans are going crazy. It's not as sloppy as this. Listen, it was the first game of the season. And I'm saying it's awesome because it was a win. So being on the opposite side of the fence, let me be the one to tell fans from every team that lost. Let me be the one to tell you, for fans from every team that lost this weekend, relax. It's one game. Chill out. That's it, right? It's not that big of a deal. Your team isn't who they are on week one. They're not as great as you think they are. They're not as bad as you think they are. Probably somewhere in the middle, and it'll kind of work itself out late. So when I see this Baltimore Ravens team that struggled offensively a little bit to get going, right? Couple mistakes in there, an interception by Lamar, right? Some ill-advised just timing penalties, right? That kind of hurt a little bit. But that defense was firing around, playing championship ball, right? And they got the win. Some tough injuries in there, but they got the win. So when you talk about someone like Lamar, and I seeing fans, I'm just talking to you. We call it trending thoughts. This is trending, right? This is trending in our area. When I go and I watch Lamar Jackson play ball, and he may not have played the way that we're used to Lamar playing, not once did I think to myself, oh man, Lamar didn't play as well because he didn't play in the preseason. It has nothing to do with it. Each NFL game is the same. I played in a bunch of preseason games. I sat out some preseason games. And let me be the one to tell you, Nothing prepares you for a real game like practices. No matter how great a shape you're in, you're going to be tired on game day. Things are going to be off. You have to adjust. So because Lamar hasn't played in a while, yeah, there could be some rust because he hasn't been on a real field in a real game. But let me tell you, it's not because he missed preseason. All right. So stop with your little conspiracy theories. It's easy to say that, but preseason is a joke, damn near for your starters. All right. So let me get that out. That's my personal take. And when it comes to Lamar in general, he had 169, 190, right? It was just a little bit rocky at times. Protection was okay. It wasn't excellent. It was okay, right? But he's going to be fine. He made some big time throws to his feet. My favorite throw to him was to Zay Flowers, threw a fade to him. I thought it was going to be more of a seam, but it's really an inside fade. Zay did a great job fading outside, and it was a dime, a beautiful throw by Lamar. I'm glad he was able to showcase that ability, fit into a tight window. Zay did a great job catching the ball, protecting himself from the big hit, from the safety, and it's fun to watch. And speaking of, it's fun to watch. Zay is as good as everyone has said from the beginning. I'm gonna tell y'all and remind y'all every chance I get that Zay was my favorite receiver in the draft. Watched him at BC, and he was a dog, right? And you're seeing the exact same thing here in the pros. He's explosive. I mean, it's not even like he's taking crazy hits. He knows how to protect himself. He knows how to get down. But I promise you, the first person will not touch him. Say that consistently. The first person that's going to touch him, and he turns a short game into a big one. And so for Zay, finished up with 9 catches and 78 yards. He's probably not going to get that many targets all the time, but he is a guy that will consistently be fed. So for those fantasy folks out there, I would like to thank Zay Flowers as someone that you want on your team simply because he can be a home run threat at any given time. And the Ravens are going to be run heavy first, but there are going to be plenty of opportunities to pass the ball. And when you have Lamar Jackson as your quarterback, anything is possible, especially things when they happen off script. Odell, man, it's a blessing to see him back on the field. He had finished up with 2 catches, 37 yards. It wasn't targeted too much. Drew a couple of big pass interference plays, which you choose down the field. But, man, it's just a blessing to see him on the field, healthy, running around, right, and really going and showing what he can do. So, man, I'm excited for him in his game. Rashad Bateman, the same way. 3 for 35. Big time catches and just knifing, just tough. Exactly what you want to see for a guy that's coming off the injury to go out, make those plays. It's like a great opportunity where I tell people all the time, when you're coming off an injury, sometimes you just need to get hit and get up like, man, I'm okay, right? And when you haven't played for a long time, like even psychologically, there's a little bit there. Like I am fine, but I haven't been hit. And then when you get hit, it really kind of changes things up. Like, man, I'm good. I can pop out of it. It's out the way. Now I can play ball. And that was huge for Odell and Rashad to go out there and get it done. And I'm happy that we were able to see those boys on the field. But on the flip side of that, tough loss on the offensive side of the ball with J.K. Dobbins. All right, J.K. is my little dude, man. I actually called his name. I was supposed to call his name at the draft with the year that he went. And to see him hurt again with the torn Achilles is tough. But there aren't many people that are more resilient than him. I hate that this has to be his road to greatness, but I don't think it's going to derail anything. It's just a little setback, but the train's still moving for him. And I'm praying for him, and I know he'll bounce back from it. But defensively, man, when you watch the game, and if you ever go to a Ravens game, you probably need to keep your eyes on this linebacking core, both Patrick Queen, and Roquan Smith. But I couldn't stop watching Roquan Smith play football. Like he looked like an old school linebacker flying around. Felt like you're looking at like Ray on the field. He was in the mix everywhere, man. And just watching him and then doubling back and watching on film. That second rounder that Eric DeCosta gave up, I feel like it was a steal last year. But man, it's even better than you think. Just watching and seeing and paying attention to him, man. He's a great football player, and he is a Raven. Like the way he plays his game, he plays like a Raven. Fun to watch him. Patrick Queen did an excellent job as well. You can make an argument that they have the best duo of linebackers in the league, man. Those cats flying around, making plays, getting sacks. It was fun to watch them. And also Adafe Owe. All right, I'm proud of him and his growth, coming in. And, man, he may not have the crazy stat line to really show how well he played, but Adafe Owe was all over the field. I mean, all over the field, right? His pressures were through the roof. It seemed like every time he looked, he was getting a hit on C.J. Stroud, who, by the way, is going to be an excellent player in this league. But Adafe Owe did his thing, man, and it was fun watching him out there. That defensive line was getting after it. So some people may say, oh, man, it's just Houston. So what? It's an NFL team, right? Each and every week, you got to battle, you got to go. And I think there's a lot to be proud of on the defensive side of the ball in terms of how well they were able to play and limit that team. And going back to CJ Stroud, just to give him a little bit of love there, um, he looked all right. He had made a couple of decisions that could have been tough, costly rookie mistakes. But overall, man, I saw some big time reads out of him. I'm talking about fitting NFL throws, small windows, anticipating the ball, getting it out, especially across the middle of the field. He was very decisive with certain reads and making plays. And, it was big time just watching him go out there and grow. He's a rookie. I couldn't imagine being a rookie, and my first start is against the Baltimore Ravens, right? Fans are going crazy. And also just defensively, knowing what they're capable of is always crazy. So shout out to CJ Stroud, man. Houston has a good one in him. His head was held high, and, he's going to be a big-time threat in this league. Yeah, so the Texans are going to get better over the course of the year. CJ Stroud is going to continue to get better. But that's a team that I thought played very hard considering the environment that they were in, and DeMeco Ryans will be winning a lot of games here soon. But from one AFC North team to another AFC North team, that's not my favorite. But my second team, the San Francisco 49ers, were able to play the Pittsburgh Steelers up in Pittsburgh. Now, for those of you that may not know, Heinz Field is one of the best places to play ball. I think the history of it, I think it's one of the only NFL stadiums. I guess you can put Kansas City in there, but it really feels like college a little bit. The fans are very passionate, and to me, it's probably my favorite place to play as a player. I think they do a great job there, the tradition, waving that little ugly towel, and just going crazy, playing Renegade in the fourth quarter. It gets your adrenaline going, and the fans there do a great job. So shout out to them, and obviously it's one of the best organizations in the game as well. But San Francisco didn't care about none of that. Them boys got off that plane, taking that long flight, and put a whooping on them, 30-7. The San Francisco 49ers did exactly what we expected them to do. And I think as a fan, if you see Brock Purdy out there, 19-29, 220 yards, 2 touchdowns, that's exactly why Trey Lance is gone. It has nothing to do with superhero stats, just efficient and running the offense the way it's supposed to be ran. On the flip side of that, my guy, my brother, C-Mac, Christian McCaffrey, man, 22 carries, 152 yards, 1 touchdown. Christian McCaffrey, when he is healthy, is one of the best players in the NFL, period. He's one of the best players that I've ever had the opportunity to play with. He can do it all. I tell people all the time, as a running back, yes, he's a great running back, but that joke can go outside and run an 18-yard comeback like a receiver. He works hard, man, every day. Brings it in practice, brings it in all-season workouts. So there's no secret as to why he performs the way he does. He puts the work in, man. I have a lot of love and respect for him, as a player and a young man. And I'm excited to see him on that field healthy, man. And pray that it continues because he's a superstar in this league. The 49ers are going to be a way better team if his health remains up there, which I pray it will, and I know it will this year because he's going to work to get it done, man. So I'm excited for him, and the 49ers. Shout out to Jay York for another win and the coaching staff out there for getting it done. But Brandon Ayuk, man, 8 catches, 129 yards, 2 touchdowns. Patrick Peterson isn't easy to go against, man. And he did a great job, made some tough plays against him, and just going out there and making plays. It's been fun watching his young journey as a receiver in this league, knowing how hard and publicly that Coach Shanahan challenged him over the course of his career, especially when he was young, just seeing him battle through it, continue to grow, continue to mature. And now he's that guy that Coach Shanahan believed he could be from the beginning, but he gave him that little tough love to help him get on through it. But I'm excited for him. Big time player, man, explosive. And, he just goes out there and makes plays. And when you have Debo out there, it definitely helps take a lot of pressure off. Debo didn't have the biggest game, but Debo being on the field is huge for the 49ers in general, and they're going to be fun to watch. I think it's going to be another 49ers-Eagles NFC Championship game, and all of these wins early on are going to matter because the game could be a lot different if the Eagles have to travel to the 49ers or if the 49ers have to travel over here to Philadelphia. I mean, it is tough. People can say all they want. Oh, it doesn't matter. A game's a game. I'm here to tell you right now. When you had to travel and get on that long flight, it does impact you a little bit. Can you overcome it? For sure. Right. But it absolutely can impact you and your body. And so I think these games early on are going to matter. In Pittsburgh, I think everyone expected him to be a lot better out of the gate, especially with Kenny Pickett, the way he had been practicing and the highlights we have been seeing. And he did very well in the preseason too. But it's game one, right? As much as I don't like these Steelers, I will tell you this. It's game one. Steelers fans, relax. All right. Great win from the 49ers. Only game one for the Steelers. Shout out to the 49ers for taking care of business, helping out the Ravens with that big win against an AFC North opponent. But let me switch this thing on over to the Eagles, another Pennsylvania team. My guys up there took care of business in Foxborough. They were able to come all the emotion, Tom Brady being back. The Eagles didn't care about none of that. Started off the game 16-0, right? Looked good, looked solid. Offense looked a little bit rusty, but it looked like a game one, right? Same thing for the Eagles fans. Don't overreact. It's game one. That's it. Got to win in Foxborough. Defense played very well, even held up at the end of the game, right, when they needed it the most because the Patriots had got hot. Mac Jones was actually moving that ball pretty well when they needed to. But a big play Slay early on. I think that pick was really the difference in the game. He almost had another crazy one. But the defense was all over the place, man, starting up front. All right, Jalen Carter is exactly who everyone thought he was coming into the league, exactly who everyone saw in Philly camp, and exactly what the NFL knows right now. He is a big-time threat on the defensive line as a young player. I think the Eagles have arguably the best defensive line in the league. Those 316 passing yards isn't going to show that completely, but when you watch them, those guys are dominant up front, and it's going to be they're only going to continue to get better as the season goes on. Again, it's week one. All right. So not going to jump in anything, not going to over exaggerate, trying to make things worse than what they really are. The Eagles are one of the best teams in the league, arguably the best team in the league, and they're going to be fine. Going into Foxborough and winning is not easy. I don't care how bad their team is on paper or what people may think. They're going to play very well all the time because Bill Belichick is their coach. Mac Jones did a great job staying composed regardless of what happened against them. And also, my guy Kendrick Bourne was making plays, man. 6 catches, 64 yards, 2 touchdowns, just a ball full of energy. I think he's one of the most underrated receivers in the league. And when he gets his opportunities like the way he should, I think he can contribute just as much as any player in this league at the receiver position, man. Has a lot of fun out there, bringing the energy. You can see it, man, feeding off the crowd. But the Eagles, as they go through here, I mean, A.J. Brown, 7 catches, 79 yards, business as usual. Devontae Smith, 7 catches, 47 yards, 1 touchdown. I mean, you're going to expect a lot of them all year. I hate using the number one receiver title because the reality of it is the Eagles have 2 guys, and Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. It's going to be fun to watch it all come together. The one question for me, it's not really a question because it's going to be running back by committee, but it's going to be like, who's going to really take the bull by the horns? I think Kenneth Gainwell has been the guy all preseason, in practice and in camp and in preseason games. So it's no surprise that he got the nod, but it's going to be interesting to see who's the one that really takes charge there, or if it'll be committee the entire year. I'm looking forward to seeing more out of DeAndre Swift in the passing game and in the running game, especially when I'm being back home. But that's that home run threat there. One thing about it, in order to play for the Eagles, you have to be selfless. And I think you have a group that'll be able to handle it. And they played complementary football. They got it done when it mattered the most. Didn't have to be pretty. Same for the Ravens. Didn't have to be pretty. Get the game done. Finish with a win. That's all that matters. When we get to the end of the season, and it's week 17, 18, whatever the heck it is, no one's going to say, man, you remember that time that the Patriots almost won the game or had a chance to win the game? No, it doesn't matter. All right. Are the Eagles the number 1 or 2 seed? All right. That's all people really care about. So it's going to be fun watching them go to work. And, they're going to continue to get better. Jalen Hurts thought he played okay. The conditions were a little stank, but, we know he's an MVP candidate, and he's only going to continue to get better as well. I'm going to fast forward over real quick to the Panthers, who are amongst my other favorite team. The Bryce Young, he had a couple of interceptions, and that's really the difference in the game. When you turn the ball over, that changes everything. I still think he is the guy. I still think he should have been the number one pick. And I think Carolina is going to be better because he's their quarterback. There's no one thing that led to this team being in that situation, but I can tell you, whenever you lose a turnover battle, it's going to be tough to go and win games. And that's just how it works in football. So Bryce Young is his first game. He threw his first touchdown to to Hayden Hurst. Hayden Hurst threw it in the crowd, which was hilarious. They got the ball back. But overall, this team is only going to continue to get better. I keep telling you this over and over. I believe in Bryce Young. I believe in Frank Reich. I believe in his leadership. Carolina Panthers are going to be fine. All right. And I don't see this as a complete rebuild. I don't. I think the Carolina Panthers will be able to compete for their division title simply based on their leadership, their coaching, and who they have. Bryce Young is going to improve faster than any young quarterback that we see because of his makeup. That's just who he has been historically, right? I just think in a perfect world, any coach would probably tell you he probably didn't need to throw the ball 38 times in his first game back, right? But in his first start. But the reality of it is when you're behind and you turn the ball over, you're going to have to throw the ball more. So balance is going to be their friend. As he grows and takes care of the ball and learns from his mistakes, this Carolina team is only going to be better. Pay my guy, Spider-Man Burns, and they're going to be all right. And it's going to be fun, right? I hope I can sneak on down there to get to a game to check them out because they are a very talented team. Great place to play ball, man. And in Carolina, the fans down there deserve great things. Well, lastly, we're going to switch over to a team that's not one of my favorite teams. I didn't play for them. Matter of fact, I spent the majority of my childhood cheering against them because I was the guy in the house that cheered for the team that everyone else wasn't cheering for, that annoying little kid, including the Cowboys as well. But this is our home team in Virginia, the Washington Commanders, and I'm going to miss reporting on them this year with Jordan Giorgio and J.P. Finley and Brian Mitchell, Santana Miles. It was a great time, having the opportunity to work and study them for the last couple of years. And I always want the best for Coach Rivera. That's one of my favorite coaches. So I definitely cheer for the Commanders from afar as well and want good things for them. They came out with the win 2016 over the Arizona Cardinals. Was it pretty? Absolutely not. But the same thing applies to the Commanders fans. It's one game, relax. It's a win. It's all that matters. It's a win. Defense came up big. Now, I know I mentioned earlier that the Philadelphia Eagles may have the best defensive line in football. I'm here to tell you right now, this Washington Commanders defensive line is just as good. They would not have won that game versus the Arizona Cardinals if it wasn't for their defensive line showing up and playing the way they did. Montez Sweat is an absolute animal. After watching closely over the last couple of years, and I know people like to get into the hype and talk about how the team may not have been the best. I'm here to tell you right now, Montez Sweat is probably a top 5 defensive end in this league, period. Plays every down. He's hustling his tail off, and he's a big-time player. I love watching him play. I love his effort, and he's helping to lead this team, man. It's been fun watching him grow and mature over the past few years because he's really a star in this league. If Washington starts winning and playing like this the way they're supposed to, everyone's going to know about Montez Sweat. The guy's a baller, and that's without even Chase Young being on the field. So hope little bro is back healthy here soon so he can get on out there. But Sam Howell, right? You see the stat line, 202 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. I promise you that doesn't tell the whole story, right? He was under pressure a little bit. The offensive line struggled. But I loved everything that I saw out of Sam Howell. The guy got rocked. Dirty hit, late hit. The referee sits up like the Undertaker, throws the flag. Sam Howell was not fazed, right? He made some big-time throws under pressure and just his leadership, man. He has that it factor. It's kind of hard to, describe it, but he's a guy that I feel like if you're in the huddle with him, you have to feel confident that you stand a chance. He wasn't easily rattled. He made some plays. That offensive line is going to get better as the year goes on. But when you're throwing the guys, they have weapons, man. Curtis Samuel, Logan Thomas, right? Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson. They have some dogs at receiver and some guys that can do things for you in the short passing game and turn it into a big one. But I think as they get in rhythm and as Sam continues to develop as a quarterback, they're going to be better as the year goes on. That defensive line, if they continue to play like that and dominate like that, they're going to be tough to handle, man. This Washington team is going to surprise some people. Do I think they're going to win the division? Probably not, because I believe in the Philadelphia Eagles. But I'm here to tell you right now, I think the Commanders are going to make the playoffs. I do. Some people are like, oh, you're tripping. It's just one game. It was the Cardinals. This team has what it takes to get over the hump. It just depends on a couple of key players. And I'm sure a lot of people may feel that way with their being, hey, if our quarterback plays well, we'll get there. Well, this defense can be for real. This defensive line is for real. And I'm telling you right now, if Sam Howard develops and this offensive line is able to protect him a little bit more, maybe get a little bit more out of the running game with Brian Robinson, man, I'm trying to tell you right now, the Commanders can make some noise. All right, I'm not calling them Super Bowl champions. Don't go out here blasting me on social media talking about I think they're going to win the Super Bowl or anything. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that they can make the playoffs and they can get interesting. And I'm expecting them to make the playoffs because of Coach Rivera's leadership and getting these guys rolling. But the Commanders are going to be all right. Sam Howell, have a lot more respect for him watching him play. And that's not saying I didn't like him. I did like him. All right, you got to remember, this is a guy that's 2 years removed from being who people thought would be the number one pick in the draft, right? So he fell in the draft. I don't understand how people can think so highly of you 1 year, and then the next year, your potential magically disappears. I think the Washington has a steal in him, and I think he's going to be all right because of his demeanor and his makeup. But it's going to be fun to watch. Time will tell. This week, looking forward to the future games. I know my Terps, again, they play UVA on Friday. That's going to be a fun one to watch. You know, we'll see how Sam Howell does on the road. The Commanders are on the road versus the Denver Broncos. The Eagles, they're going to be back at home at the Link versus the Minnesota Vikings. That's going to be a fun one there. Everyone knows how we feel about Kirk Cousins. I'll talk about that next time. Kirk Cousins, I believe, is the most – I think people hate him for no reason, right? People hate him for no reason. But I'll dive into that next time. And then you have the – 49ers going to the Rams. That's always a very interesting game there. And it's going to be fun to watch, man. It is going to be fun to watch. I think when you think about the Panthers and where they sit, and the Baltimore Ravens are going on the road this weekend as well. So that means no game coverage for me. They go see Joe Burrow and the offense in Cincinnati that struggled last week. But guys, it's week 1. That was it. Don't let that week fool you, right? It was week 1. So that's going to be a brawl there. And that game is going to help shift and shape up the conference, the AFC North, because everyone's good in the AFC North right now, right? I know the Steelers lost pretty bad at the San Francisco 49ers, but I'm here to tell you right now, the AFC North is going to be a dogfight. And there's every team in that conference actually stands a chance. So it's going to watch it all play. It's going to be fun to watch it all play out. I think the Ravens are still going to come out on top, but I think Cleveland had a massive win. Right, they look very good. Deshaun Watson's getting his confidence back, right? A year removed from all the stuff he was dealing with, and he looks solid at quarterback, man. If he gets rolling, they're going to be tough to deal with. But anyways, I'm only going to keep talking about my teams. I'm going to catch y'all next week. Y'all have any questions? Y'all have any concerns? Let me know. Until then, see y'all next time. Trending Thoughts. I'm out.